am educating myself right now, and I don't think all identities are valid. I want to fuck! I want to fuck! I think if you're like pushing for programs like this, you like kids. Like, do you want to frick Optimus Prime or something? Here's the thing, like, recently online, I've been looking around and I've been seeing stuff like allosexual, demisexual, and I'm just wondering, okay, I know that these things are like kind of part of the asexual spectrum, but why? Because here's how I see sexuality, right? It's either you're into something or you aren't. You can't say, like, it's either you can. How do I explain this like in a really good way? For example, if someone asks you, can you eat peanut butter? You either say you can eat peanut butter, or you can't eat peanut butter because you have a peanut allergy. So I see sexuality in that it's either yes, it's a yes or a no question. The more specific details is just preferences. So I don't. For asexuality, I just expect it to be, it's either you're sexually attracted, you can have sexual attraction, or you don't, or you're not sexually attracted. It's like, it's a yes or a no. The frequency, if we're going to talk about frequency, that's just preference. If you can feel sexual attraction, I don't think you're asexual. You're not asexual if you can feel like sexual attraction. Obviously there's like aromantic and stuff, and I truly believe that you can be whatever romantic if you're asexual, you just don't like sex. That's perfectly fine. But I have an issue with like the sexuality thing being a spectrum, you know, like if it's like an A spectrum, because that doesn't really make sense. How can you have a spectrum of something that it's like you don't feel any attraction to? If you feel attraction, then you must belong to like the other sexualities, not asexual. Anyways, we're going to learn more. We're going to get educated, guys. We are going to be more educated about this so that we don't make stupid statements, and we can understand more. We can get to understanding more. So, let's watch first. I spent a day with asexuals from Anthony Padilla to like get us a general overview.
Asexuals, commonly referred to as ace, are those described as lacking sexual attraction to others or having low to absent interest in sexual activity. Despite implications of asexuality existing since the dawn of humanity, asexuality as a sexual orientation and field of scientific research is still relatively new, with the first recognition in a scientific document dating back only 120 years ago.
What was that? What book was that? Sappho und Socrates. Sappho und Socrates. Okay, so there's not much about it. Like, prior Google search, Magnus Hirschfeld. So he's like the guy who's researched it. German physician, sexologist, LGBTQ advocate, a gay Jewish doctor. Okay, so it's from the Germans. Okay, so, and his institute was looted and had its books words. Oh, so he's like, oh, Weimar. Wasn't the Weimar Republic not that good? anyways, that's interesting. Continuing.
As made evident by the thousands of comments from aces on my video with sex therapists who did not acknowledge Cases, asexuality is extremely common, yet rarely recognized in our culture. My name's Anthony Padilla, and today I'm going to be sitting down with aces to learn the truth behind this sexual orientation that far too many have written off as outrageous or ridiculous. Is asexuality a valid sexual orientation, or is it really just a way for people who are too scared of a romantic relationship to emotionally regress and avoid human connection altogether?
I mean, like, if you don't want to have sex, that's totally your that's your decision to make. People should not be pressuring you into doing something that you don't want to do, right? If you want to have sex, you do it safely, you do it properly, right? That is just like, that's like up to you as a person. If you don't want to have it, then that's fine. That's really fine. Asexual, like, as a concept, like, the term asexuality, like, I'm okay with that. It's just like, when you call it a spectrum, I'm just gonna look at you differently, like, you sure, buddy?
Are asexuals truly able to live happy and fulfilling lives without strong sexual desire? Or are they simply convincing themselves that the deprivation of this basic human desire is normal in an attempt to suppress a deeper or darker insecurity or trauma? Hi, Lauren.
Hi.
Hello, Andrew.
Hey,
Gray asexual. Is this just like gray sexual? I remember when I was like a kid and I was like just getting into all the flags and stuff, all the LGBTQ identities. I was like 12 or like 11 years old. And I just know that gray sexual meant like, oh, you sometimes feel a sexual attraction. And that just kind of just like doesn't... It's like, if you feel like a sexual attraction, I don't think that makes you an asexual, right? Like, let me explain this. Like, I'm like, bisexual, yeah, but I wouldn't act on the, liking women part. You know why? Because I'm also Catholic. Like, I acknowledge that, yeah, I can feel attraction for both men and women, but dating, growing up, getting like a life together, man only, no women, none, because you have to adhere to religious life, and that's my preference to do so. And like the reason why, when I was a kid, like when I was 12, like I was like gray sexual panromantic, I think. And the thing is, it's like, gray sexual, I was only gray sexual because I was a kid. When you're a kid, you're not thinking of those things. You shouldn't be really thinking of those things. You should just be like focusing on, I don't know, being a kid, having your hobbies, making friends. You shouldn't be getting into all the sexuality stuff. That's something for when you're older. Like, you can have like maybe like an idea of it, but you shouldn't really be focusing on it. Don't focus on it. You have all your life to figure it out.
Hey. Hey, Shelby.
Hello.
Thank you so much for coming out and teaching me about the wondrous world of asexuality.
It's very wondrous.
What do you consider yourself? Asexual, ace?
Asexual.
gray asexual.
I usually just would use the word asexual, although I haven't used it a lot because I haven't said it many times.
You haven't talked about your
I've
sexuality
never
much?
talked about it.
This is your
It's my debut.
debut. Congratulations.
Yeah, you're lucky you get this on camera.
Yeah. What does being asexual entail?
The definition is you don't experience sexual attraction.
A straight guy feels about another guy, or a straight girl feels about another girl. I just
Yeah.
feel that about both genders.
People are just like 100%.
Wait,
I want
what?
to have sex.
Wait, what? Yes. Okay. Luckily, it has captions.
The definition is you don't experience sexual attraction.
A straight guy feels about another guy, or a straight girl feels about another girl. I just
Yeah.
feel that about both genders.
So,
In sexual attraction.
A straight
guy feels about another guy, or a straight girl feels about another. Oh, okay. I get it. I was just like kind of confused a bit. but basically no attraction. It's just like you just don't feel that way. Understandable.
Guy feels about another guy or a straight girl feels about another girl. I just feel that about both genders.
People are just like 100%. I want to have sex. Definitely not me. I'm more like maybe a 2% type of guy.
2% of the time you're into it?
Like
It's just like if 2% you want to do it, then technically you're not asexual. It's like people aren't hardwired to like, yes. People are not right. Wait, I have a good toggle for that. It's not like, oh shit, fuck. Okay. I accidentally clicked the wrong thing. Okay, so it's not like... Anyways. I have a good toggle for this. Like 2%. If you can feel sexual attraction 2% of the time, well, that's still attraction. You still feel attraction. So technically, you aren't asexual. It's not like people are gonna go... Wait, the wrong one. Yes, yes, I want to frick. I want to frick. I want to frick all day long. I want to frick. I want to go... Like, how do I do this without while holding down the toggle? It's not like they go, I want to fuck. I want to fuck. I want to go... Like, people aren't... People are not like that. They're not like that. It's like... You feel it, but it's not like 100% of the time. Like, if you feel it 100% of the time, isn't that just being a hypersexual?
like maybe a 2% type of guy.
2% of the time you're into it?
Like asexual simply means someone who doesn't experience sexual attraction. Graysexual is someone who, experiences just a bit.
How long have you identified as asexual?
I went to an all-girls Catholic academy, so we were taught abstinence.
Oh, great. Abstinence is great.
We even had a club that was called True Love Waits,
Oh.
where we had a whole ceremony where we wore white dresses, we put on purity rings.
True. Look, I'm speaking as someone who went to a Catholic... I come from a similar background as Shelby, and we never did this like sort of thing. Like, this is weird, like really, really weird. Like, we're taught about, oh, you should be like abstinent because that's what God said, but we don't have this like weird stuff about like, oh, we need to take our vows of purity, we wear white dresses. No, that's so fucking weird. That's like really, really weird. That's really odd. And I feel like if you do that in a school where it's like you're teaching this to like teenagers, I think you're a pedo. I think if you're like pushing for programs like this, you like kids. It's important to be chaste. It is important. I do support like for both sexes, for both male and female, it's better to be chaste. It's better to only practice sex with ideally husband and wife. But if you're not about that, practice it safely. But this whole thing where it's just like, oh, purity culture, it's gross for me. It's like, just teach the kids about how to, I don't know, be a good person, like adhere to the teachings of God. You don't need to do all this performative ass shit.
The implication from the title alone implies that love is intrinsically connected with sexual desire.
Yeah, I just went along with it to sort of have an excuse to get myself out of dealing with that for a while. And then when I started dating at 21 was when I kind of realized I didn't really work the same way as everyone else. I put it off for so long, I was like, I don't think everyone else feels the way that I feel.
Started in high school.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it's just like, it's your choice. It's your choice to have sex. Like, as long as you communicated with your partner and they understand, I think that's like, there's nothing really wrong. It's like, it's okay, I guess. Anyways.
everyone was kind of into boys, and I Yeah. When I kiss someone, it's kind of like kissing a wall. Like,
Yeah.
and another thing I said, which he didn't like, was,
Yeah.
I don't understand cheating. What's the big deal?
What? 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 That's a wild thing to say. How is that related to asexuality? I don't understand cheating. Like, are you polyamorous? Are you polyamorous or something? Like, cheating, it's like the betrayal part of it. I feel like I feel like that would be understandable for most people, right? That's wild. How is that related to asexuality, bro? Are you like an aromantic? I don't know if she said that she was aromantic too, but that was like, that's crazy. That's super crazy, bro. No wonder he got mad. He's like, what? What? He's probably thinking they're like, girl, what the fuck did you just say? What do you mean you don't understand cheating? It's just like you're going behind your partner's back and essentially betraying them. That's not like a crazy concept to understand. Anyways.
You said that?
I said that because I've never understood it. I mean, I have multiple friends. Why not have multiple? You know, what's the
So, you're into polyamory?
difference?
Are there different ways to identify as asexual within the, is there a spectrum?
So you can be like a sex positive asexual.
What? I'm so confused. Okay, like sex positive? So you enjoy the act of sex, but you don't experience sexual attraction? I mean, technically everybody can feel the sexual pleasure. That's like built into our bodies, right? But it's just like, huh? I'm so confused. I'm really, really confused. What does that mean? What? So you enjoy doing it, but you don't experience attraction? Well, why have it if you don't experience any attraction? It's like, is it just like, oh yeah, I like jorking it, but, huh? Bro, I'm confused. I'm so confused right now. What do you mean? Isn't that just being a hoe? So it's just like being hoe means that you have the sexual attraction and you enjoy it? What? Maybe he explains it more, maybe he explains it more. Maybe I'm pausing.
Sexual, which I am.
Yeah.
Right? And this is someone who's fine with sex. You know, they're fine with having sex. They're fine with other people having sex. There are sex repulsed asexuals who will never actually have sex. They have no.
So I feel like this one is this one, like, yeah, this one's understandable. It's like, oh, I don't like to have it. I find it icky, which is okay. That's totally okay. But it's just, this one makes a lot more sense. And this is the, like, what I associate with asexuals, which is just be like, I don't want to have it. Like, if you want to be celibate, that's fine. That's fine. That's okay. But it's just like, sex positive asexual is just like, why have it if you don't feel any attraction? Isn't the attraction part of like enjoying it?
Desire
The
to.
idea is disgusting to them.
Correct. Demisexuals, who are people who are very much asexual, but once they find a partner that they really connect with, then they're like, okay, I'm fine. I'm actually attracted to this person.
Bro. Dude. That's just normal people. That's just like most people. Most people can be demisexual. It's just like this is what they associate with normal. Demisexual is just being normal. Like, demisexual is just not being a horn dog. Like maybe, like, if you just find someone, like, attractive, like, oh, he's cute, oh, he's hot. I don't think that's physical attraction. That's not really sexual attraction. Like, you won't, like, let's say let's say I meet a cute buff guy. I look at him and it's like, oh yeah, he's cute, I'm attracted to him. And, like, let's say we date, and then after that I'm attracted to him in a sexual way because we're dating, we want to, like, have physical contact. That's just normal. Why do we need to have, like, a label for it? It's just how normal people act. Normal, not hypersexual people act. this is just being normal. You don't need this. If you are demisexual, you're just a normal person. You don't need the label. You don't need the label.
Right.
There are some asexuals who are aromantic,
Yeah.
aka they don't fall in love. There are others who are very much romantic, and they're like, okay, like
Yeah, that one makes sense. Because you can love a person without feeling like, like a sexual attraction. Like, that's completely fine. No problem with that.
like I do want a partner, maybe a lifelong partner who will connect with me emotionally.
How do you identify within this spectrum?
Asexual, that's the word that I feel the most comfortable with. And I think that I would probably say hetero-romantic.
You'll find hetero romantic relationships desirable, but that's where it ends.
Yeah, which is hard, because that just means I'm dating a bunch of straight guys who don't really get it.
Okay, yeah. All right. So if you're asexual heteromantic, it's just be like, to be fair, wouldn't the culture that you were taught in high school kind of like influence that? I mean, like, it's your choice not to be like sexual with someone. That's completely your choice. But there's just a part of me, like, when she mentioned like that extreme like purity ceremony, I feel like when you're taught that as a kid, doesn't it just like it builds up in your subconscious, and that's why you don't want to do it? That's why you don't feel attraction, because you've been like taught inherently that it's bad. It's just like a thought experiment. I'm not saying that she should feel like sexual attraction, but yeah, it's typically harder for guys who would want to like, who have like those desires. It's like it's hard to find a partner who is really accepting of that, because there's an expectation that, okay, like at a certain point in the relationship, you do the so maybe like if you date like a super religious guy, then maybe you can like get away with it. You can like, it'll be fine. But the typical straight guy, yeah, they're not gonna stick around long, simply because they're just not wired like that. Like, there's an expectation to have like that physical contact with someone, but ultimately, like, if they don't respect your choice of being asexual, then you shouldn't be with them to begin with, since you should be with someone who respects you, and they respect you and they respect your boundaries. Anyways, continuing.
Yeah. Do you find that people commonly assume asexuality is the same as celibacy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, very often people think that. I've had people tell me, I'm also celibate, I don't want to have sex anymore this year. And I'm like,
This year?
like, it doesn't work like that, okay?
Yeah.
Like, this is not a seasonal thing. This is like every day.
I've dated a lot of people
Oh, yeah.
who are not asexual.
Yeah.
Whenever I do intimate stuff, it's more like kind of like an invasive medical exam.
Oh, really? That's how you feel?
That's how I feel.
Yeah.
Like, we're on a date and it's like, oh, this is fun, we're getting to know each other, and I'm like, oh no, it's this part of the night. It's not that it's necessarily bad, it's just I feel nothing, so it's kind of
Yeah.
awkward. Like, if you imagine taking all the emotion out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is this person, I forgot her name. This person is like what I would imagine an asexual person to be, right? It fits the thing. It's like, you don't feel sexual attraction. You feel like romantic attraction, but you don't feel it, so you're not really into it. Like, that one I get. Like, that's understandable. Like, I get that. So, yeah, like, this is the definition of asexuality that, like, like, I feel like it's like most true. Like, there's no attraction at all, like, so you feel kind of awkward about it. So that's what I imagine most asexuals are.
It would feel like a medical exam.
Oh, yeah. Do you proudly tell people that you're asexual, or do you keep that more of a secret?
It's like a need-to-know basis.
Yeah.
If someone, if I'm at a bar or something drinking with some people,
Yeah.
and someone comes up to me, and I really want to, like, that's when I gotta let them know.
Does that happen to you?
It has happened to me.
Oh, whoa.
I swear it's happened to me. I swear.
Before we learn more about the wondrous world of asexuality, I want to mention that videos discussing anything sexual, whether it be for educational purposes or journalism, are almost always demonetized by YouTube. Meaning this video will likely earn $0 despite the hundreds of man hours and the financial investment required to make this video and every video in this series. When YouTube demonetizes a video, they don't just take the money away. They also suppress the video by choosing which topics. And thank you so much for supporting the series and subscribing.
You know, if you like Anthony Padilla, some stuff, it's just like subscribe to him. But anyways, back to the video, please.
Have you found that it's possible to experience a happy and healthy relationship that doesn't include any sexual attraction whatsoever?
I actually have a loving boyfriend of a year.
Yeah.
So the answer to that would be yes.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, like I can see, like, as long as you explain it to someone and they're on board with it, then you can have like, you can totally have like a healthy romantic relationship. It's fine.
So, you know, me and my boyfriend do have sex. We are physically intimate. And
doesn't that like, are you sexually attracted to your boyfriend? I mean, I would assume so, since you are being like physically intimate, but doesn't that indicate that you're like, I don't know, gay or at least bisexual? I thought, unless you're just doing it like, unless you're like the other person who just does it because they have to. But he says he's a sex positive, and he's like graysexual. So it's just like, dude, are you sure you're just not gay or bi? Like, come on, man. I don't think that's asexuality. If you are like, if you enjoy the act of sex, and like, you can also be attracted like 2% of the time, since you're still being attracted. Like, if you feel attraction, doesn't that mean you're like another sexuality instead of asexual? I don't think. This is confusing. Graysexuality is like confusing. Okay, because it's just like, how is there a spectrum? How is there a spectrum when the term means no sexual attraction? Like, at that point, if you can feel the attraction, then it's just a matter of like preference. Like, I think labels like graysexual, demisexual are just describing preferences instead of sexualities, right? Like, it's fine to have preferences, but don't call it a sexuality.
And, you know, maybe not as much as the average couple.
And for you, it's more about making that intimate connection rather than a like primal drive that you feel?
Right, it's more of an emotional act as opposed to a physical one.
Yeah, I can get that. Yeah, like, that's understandable. Yeah, it's just like a way to connect with someone in a very intimate way. Yeah, that makes sense. Isn't that most normal people? Isn't that like how a married couple does it? Though there's obviously like physical things being driven, but that's just called making love instead of having sex. That's called making love.
My first boyfriend was at 21, and then really quickly he realized that I had never had sex before, and he wasn't okay with that.
Oh.
He said a lot of things that were pretty manipulative to tell me that there's something wrong with me. Part of me wanted to make it work, and I, at that point, was like, it's my fault. I'm doing something wrong.
Of course, society is constantly telling you that it's normal to feel these things, and if you don't, then it's something wrong with you.
There's something wrong with you. He thought I was making a big deal out of it, and I just needed to get it over with.
Yeah.
But it didn't matter if I didn't want to.
Yeah.
So I got out of there real quick.
I mean, that takes a lot of strength to get out of a situation like that, especially when you're constantly being told from every angle that you're in the wrong, that you need to be giving someone something in order to be true to yourself.
Yeah, like that's the correct way. If he doesn't respect you, if he keeps telling you that, hey, I want to do this, and you're saying, no, I don't want to do this, you get out of there. So, yeah, that's the appropriate response.
Self.
And for a relationship to work. But that sort of led me on the search to figure out like, is there a word for it? Is there something wrong with me? Do I need to go to a doctor? And that's how I found the word asexual.
Right.
And that there were other people like me.
How do you feel about our culture's affinity for overly sexualizing almost everything?
It makes me a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, like the over sexualizing thing, like, yeah, I'm against it. It's like, it's normal to feel sexual attraction, but I feel like a lot of people are just like sexualizing things. There's too much boob and ass on like entertainment nowadays, and I feel like it's even reaching to the point where little kids like see this shit and it like normalizes it for them, which we shouldn't like do. Like, I know this is more of an American culture thing, and I notice it more with the Americans, but yeah, like tone it down, keep it to like specific spaces. Not everything has to be sexualized. Like, I remember seeing the show Euphoria, and I'm just like, well, why are they always naked? Like, I would see like clips of it, and it's just like sexualizing people in high school, and it's just, ew, it was gross. I think that show's gonna get canned soon anyways.
I mean, most things make me uncomfortable anyway, so that's not even an asexual thing.
So as someone with anxiety, I can relate.
I'm just, always uncomfortable.
I still find it entertaining. I don't know why.
You think sexual things are entertaining to see?
I love romantic comedies.
Yeah.
And like, you don't really see the sex on screen. It's about the intimate relationship.
Right.
So it's interesting to me. Watching porn, on the other hand, probably be entertained by like the plots. But
People wonder who watches porn for the plot, and here we are.
Okay. It's kind of, like when people say that they watch porn for the plot, I'm just like thinking, that's cope, right? That's a bit of cope. Why are you, out of all things to watch for entertainment, why porn? Like, you usually get it to, if you're watching it for the plot, you're usually getting off to the plot, if you know what I mean. It's like there's like a certain trope there that makes you want to go, right? So yeah, this is like, I don't want to be mean, but is she autistic? Because that would make sense, like considering like her reactions, that would make sense, right? Okay, so her name is Lauren. Let's see. Lauren Rhodes. The Blue Mannequin. Not a choice song. Okay. Whoa. 15.8K, but damn. Those music video views, like, holy shit. No one's listening. Okay, so she's probably not. It's just like, sometimes like some of those responses, I'm just like, when they say stuff, I'm just like thinking, are you like autistic or something? It's not an insult. It's just like something that I would usually see autistic people say.
Have societal pressures ever made you question your own sexual desires or lack thereof?
yeah, I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything. I mean, I've seen friends go through just really stressful times, and I'm like, that just seems like a lot of work.
What, like breakups and stuff?
What is being flashed on screen? Like, there is something being flashed on screen. Come on, there was something flashed. It is. Why flash this when you can barely like read it?
What, like breakups and stuff?
Yeah, like they're, pregnancy scares,
Yeah.
pregnancy happening,
What was that? Pregnancy scare? Pregnancy. Like, what was it? What was that just flashed on screen? Like, dude, if you're gonna have like these flash up, maybe like just more than a second, because it's just like, what was that? And honestly, if you don't want to have pregnancy scares, don't don't have sex. Like for me, I believe in abstinence. It's like the perfect way to just not have the scare, right? Or just like practice safe sex. Though wearing a condom doesn't like prevent it like 100% of the time. It prevents it like 90+% of the time. You know, wrap it before you tap it. It's just like, if you know that you cannot financially like support a baby, I don't think you should be having sex like for your own well-being. Because it's like, you don't want to go through that. Like, as much as possible, if you're going to have it with someone you trust, someone you love, perhaps someone who could support you, or just don't have sex before marriage. That's it. It's just like, you know, like pregnancy scares, pregnancy happening, like you have to be prepared for that, you know? Like this is why there's like planning, and also counting days since your ovulation cycle, blah blah blah. It's just yeah, it's just like, to prevent the pregnancy scare, the best way to do it is just not to have it at all. If you still want to have it, wrap it before you tap it.
Pregnancy happening, you know.
Do you plan to have children someday?
I don't know.
You don't know?
More that I'm like scared of the whole pregnancy thing.
You're scared of pregnancy more than the children.
Oh yeah. Well,
Children are scary.
I have no desire to raise a small little human being. Has nothing to do with sex or anything.
Right.
I just don't have that type of commitment for 18+ years.
Just not into small creatures that.
Like in terms of having kids, I think asexuals can have kids. Like if they want to have kids, then they can have kids, as long as like they have the support system and the financial stuff so that they can support the kids. So yeah, like it's just a matter of feeling like sexual attraction. It has nothing to do with wanting to have a child.
That need something every single moment of their lives until they're 18?
Correct.
Or plus?
Or plus. Yeah, you got to pay for them to go to college and everything. It's too much work.
What's something you wish you could say to people who question asexuality as a sexual orientation?
First of all, you. Second of
Damn, that's fucking aggressive, man. What the hell?
all, educate yourself. Third of all, I think all identities are valid at the end of the day.
Well, if you look,
I am educating myself right now, and I don't think all identities are valid. Like there's, you know, like to keep it simple, because I feel like at the end of the day, all the extra sexualities are just preferences. You are either attracted to the same sex, attracted to the opposite sex, or attracted to both. Pansexuality is just a more woke version of bisexuality. It's just bisexuality with extra steps. It's like attracted to one sex, which is the opposite one. Attracted to, like, let me rephrase that again. 4 ways. It's either you don't feel anything, you don't have sexual attraction, you feel sexual attraction to one sex, which is typically the opposite one, attraction to your own sex, or attraction to both. Right? That's all you need. Everything else, that's just preference. That is just preference at that point. It's not a sexuality, it's preference. Like all the additional labels, that's just preference. We don't need a new sexuality that I have to Google every time I see it on somebody's profile. You just keep it simple. The only complicated parts is when you're like talking how you prefer. Like what type of person do you prefer? Or like how often? Like that's just like stuff that you can elaborate on. It doesn't need to be a sexuality.
look at the other sexual orientations. If you think of it as a box, there's heterosexuality, there's homosexuality, there's bisexuality. What's the opposite of that? Asexuality.
Yeah, like she put it in such a good way. Yeah, that's basically all of it.
So It makes perfect logical sense that it exists, and it does exist.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with, what's her name again? I agree with Lauren. Like, yeah, basically, that's it.
The idea of sexuality and asexuality, it's never for anybody else. It's for you.
Yeah.
So it really doesn't need to be anybody else's business. And whether you believe asexual is a thing, whether you think it's how they were raised, if they were raised in abstinence like I was, has a factor, why does that matter? If that's just how I want to feel, why do you have to have a say in it?
I mean, like, you can theorize, like, why. But at the end of the day, yeah, it is how you feel. But if you're not, like, if you say that you're asexual, but you're, like, engaging in actions that make you, like, that, like, go against the definition, then I feel like people have the right to question that. It's like saying, like, it's like if your buddy says he's asexual, but you like see him every night going out and sleeping with some guy from the bar, you're just gonna think, is Buddy really asexual? Is he really asexual if he's doing all of that? You know, it's just like, it's fine to say that you're asexual and feel that way. It's just that if you act in a way that just goes against, like, what you're saying, I feel like people can look at that and go, that's kind of weird. Anyways.
Carrot Juice wants to know if you consider yourself to be part of the LGBTQ plus community.
There's a little bit of discourse of whether asexuals even belong in LGBTQIA plus spaces, or in the community at all, and that some people will say we're just straight people looking for attention, or we don't have different experiences from someone who's heterosexual, which I would disagree.
I don't personally. I think it's like I wouldn't put asexuals in queer community, because it's like, well, the reason why there's a queer community anyway is because you can bond over, like, the experience of you know, not being like how do I explain this? How do I explain this? Like, you can discriminate against lesbians, gays, bisexuals, transsexuals, or like transgenders, right? So it makes sense that they're lumped into one community because they can bond over the experience of, like, wanting to love a person or have, like, these, like, sexual feelings towards a person, and that not being accepted by society, being discriminated against. And then I'm just thinking, like, how can you discriminate against asexuals? Maybe it's like maybe it's like marital rape? Like marital rape, like, I think, but that's more of, like, a bigger issue than it, like, being discriminatory to asexuals, right? It's just like you wouldn't know someone's asexual unless they tell you. So it's like, I remember, like, Chud Logic making this argument where if, like, your boss sees you like as a guy holding hands with another guy, he could say, aha, this person's gay, I can discriminate against him, I can, like, fire him, put him out of the job, or, like, harass him at work. But if he sees you, like, walking down the street, you're not holding hands or anything, your boss is not gonna, like, really care. I don't think anyone, unless they're weird freaks, particularly care about asexuals. It's just like, oh, you don't feel the attraction? Well, okay. And they just move on with their life. So I wouldn't consider them as part of the LGBTQ community. Unless they're, like, the type of asexuals who are, like, homo-romantic or biromantic, then that would make sense, because at least there's something there to, you know, that's like you can bond over with other people from the LGBT. But if you're gonna, like, include asexuality, it's just like, why? Like, how are you being discriminated against? Like it's just like, you're not going to be really targeted. I don't know anybody who would target like asexuals. Like if you go into those fucking like troll Discord servers or troll communities like soyjack.party, you wouldn't see much hate for asexuals. They'll have hatred for gays, lesbians, bisexuals, especially transgenders. You're gonna see a lot of hate for transgenders, but nothing about asexuals. They don't care. Nobody really cares. It's like, if you want to be asexual, be asexual. I don't think even like I'd like to think no religious people would have like an issue with that. Like, I remember growing up and hearing that, oh, being gay is a sin, but if you were to like explain the concept of asexual towards like more conservative family members, they're just gonna be like, well, that's fine. That's not against God's word. You don't have to be married. Like, they're just gonna be like, oh yeah, that's fine. You can serve God in other ways. It's fine to be celibate. Like that's what they think. Like if you're asexual, no sexual attraction, so therefore you're not gonna participate in any like premarital sex anyways. At least like I'm just explaining the perspective of conservative Filipinos. Though maybe you would have like the annoying family member just be like, oh, you just haven't met the right person yet, but that's about it. You're not really gonna be discriminated against that much.
Yeah.
And even if, we don't have to worry about being kicked out of our houses, that I wouldn't compare. But my experience, especially my battle with myself, where I wasn't accepting of myself, I didn't want to be asexual.
Yeah.
It was hard.
In the LGBT community, there is still a problem of people who are more than just gay, right? Like, being LGBT stands for bisexual, and even then bi erasure still exists, both in and out of communities. So there's me even more on the fringe as asexual.
Yeah.
And I don't even have a letter in the acronym, and it's like, yeah, it's a struggle.
Patrizia Pie wants to know if
It's like stupid for the ally to be part of LGBTQIA plus. Like, note, when it was written that the A in LGBTQIA plus stands for ally, it was meant to reflect what some people have assumed to represent allies, while many have corrected to stand for asexuals. This was not intended to segregate asexuals away from the LGBTQIA plus. Like, why are the allies like part of the community? Like, that doesn't make any sense. It's just like performative. It feels so performative. It's just like, yeah, you're an ally. That's it. You don't belong to the community. You don't have like the experiences that typically you can bond in the community for. Like, in a community you bond over similar experiences. What similar experiences do allies have? It's like, it's good to be an ally. It's like, it's fine. But you shouldn't be part of the community. I don't think you should be.
if you ever find it difficult to find other asexuals who understand.
I have one friend.
Oh yeah? So you guys connect over that?
Yeah, and she's the only person really that I know who is, they say maybe 1% of the general population is.
I just did the math. That's like 75 million people.
That's a lot of
world.
people.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah, so they're out there.
Azor wants to know if you ever wish you had more sexual desires, to fit in more, or do you prefer being asexual?
I thought that I would, or I did wish that when I was just discovering who I was, because I thought it would make everything easier in relationships.
I am who I am. I really can't change that.
Yeah.
Like, once I came to the realization, that was actually a big moment for me, because I was finally comfortable in the body that I'm in. And I was like, okay, we're good to go.
What is it about being asexual, if anything, that brings you the most joy?
Probably just the fact that it makes it easier to find good people, because people will show their colors much faster if you're not giving them what they want right away.
Yeah, like, that would make it good to find better people who would be more understanding towards you. Like, generally do not have sex in the first date. Like like you need to don't give someone anything of that nature until you know for sure that they will respect you, respect your boundaries, they won't like hurt you or anything. So yeah, I feel like while it's like generally like instantly a plus for asexual people, that's like a pro that they have. I feel like more people should like adopt that. Like don't do anything of that nature until you're sure that they're trustworthy, that you feel comfortable with them. Anyways, let's continue.
I guess the thing would just more time to do the things I want to do.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of asexuals agree. You got so much more time.
The cake.
What?
The cake. You haven't found out about the cake yet?
Not the the one at the end of Portal?
That cake is a lie, though. So not that cake. In the asexual community, we absolutely love cake. But don't ask me why.
Does it have to do with sexuality?
I'm so confused. Like Anthony's expression, his expression just it's like that's just like my expression right now. Wait. Let me show it on my VTuber. Yeah, I need a better toggle for my confused expression. But yeah, just like, what does that have to do with being asexual? Like a lot of people love cake. You don't need to be asexual to like cake. It's just like, you know, like it makes sense if it's like, oh, I can go to a birthday party for free and I can get cake and it's like so nice because I love cake with icing. But it's just like, how does that relate to being asexual? I feel like Anthony Padilla got 2 actual asexuals and then there's just one who's like, there's just one that doesn't really fit in. There's one that's probably just gay or bi who just doesn't feel it as much, and I don't think that's asexual. I just think that you're just like a variation of gay or bi.
Absolutely not. No. If you ever find yourself in a situation where you're having sex, don't you want cake more? Like, I think that's just how that works.
A good way.
I mean, okay. That was so confusing. Like, what? He just asked, like, what's the best part of being asexual? And you just said, oh, yeah, cake, because wouldn't you like having cake more? I mean, sure. I guess there's like a lot of things like I could be gaming instead of doing fricking. But what does that have to do with being asexual? That's just like a normal people thing.
Way to understand if you're asexual or not is if when you are experiencing something sexual, you'd rather be having cake.
Correct.
Has anyone in your life ever made you feel?
I mean, like, you can just be disinterested. I don't think that's a good way to tell if you are. Like personally, I think, like, a good way would be, like, you pull up, like, someone in a bikini or in trunks, like a hot person, and it's just like, does down there feel weird? Like, it feels like, damn, I need to go. That's how you know if you're asexual or not. If you don't feel anything, regardless of how many hot guys or girls, like, pictures that you swipe through, then that probably means you're asexual. Like, sometimes you could just have unfulfilling sex, and that's the thing that makes you think, man, I just want to have a cake. I just want to go on my laptop and play Wuthering Waves instead of doing this. That's just more of like it being unfulfilling or it being boring than like being asexual.
Less than.
I wouldn't say guys made me feel less than, but they just didn't understand and tried to like push it anyway. And that made me feel like I wasn't being listened to or respected as a person.
Right. It was almost like they didn't even accept that to be a reality.
I remember I told this one guy, I was like, you know, look, I'm asexual. And we had this deep conversation and he's like, I feel like we've gotten closer because of this. And I think then he kissed me or something.
Totally missing the point.
Yeah.
Has being asexual affected any of your relationships?
Yes, absolutely. I used to have a 3-month expiration of any relationship that I was in.
Really? Like once the honeymoon phase ends?
Once the honeymoon phase ended, it was like, this just, is it gonna work? And that's usually how it went. I wasn't able to communicate this very effectively, right? Communication breaks down overall. I'm not broken. There's nothing to fix here. I'm absolutely perfect.
Yeah, I feel like you just need to explain it properly. I feel like, especially with this guy, like, who says that he's graysexual, I think a lot of people would be more confused. Like, unlike Shelby and Lauren, where it's just like, oh yeah, I don't feel it, so don't expect any sexual acts. Like, that's understandable. Like, you can just like understand more. But when it's like graysexual, where you feel like 2% of the time, so it's just like, okay, so are you into this? Is this okay? Like, so when, like, do we do the, or do we not? Like, that's, I feel like that's more confusing if you're gonna explain graysexual. But if you explain it in like simpler terms, where it's just like, yeah, there are just days where I'm just really not feeling it, but there are days where I absolutely am, I'll just like tell you. I feel like that would be easier to understand.
10 out of 10.
Right, never a tear, never a problem in life.
You'd be lucky to have me.
Do you ever get anxious when you're about to disclose to someone that you're asexual?
Oh yeah, you want to
Yeah.
find a person that you can be comfortable doing it with, because like your knees are knocking and you
Yeah,
get
it's a lot of
your teeth clink and
a lot of
fun.
that. And I'm not clapping. Is there anything that you would like to say to anyone who is asexual, or maybe is considering that they might identify as asexual, but maybe they're uncomfortable, maybe they're unsure about coming out because they're afraid of judgment?
When I was doing a little bit of self-discovery, I was using the word broken a lot, and I don't want other people to feel like there's anything wrong with them or anything to be fixed. You're not broken, and whatever word you feel like identifying with is there for you to feel comfortable. It doesn't need to be for anybody else but you.
You are valid. Don't let anybody else tell you any different.
Listen to yourself and be true to yourself. You'll know if you're not attracted to someone, you'll know if you are. Don't let people tell you what to do.
Yeah, like, this is just generally good advice. It's like, if you want to be in a relationship with someone, it's like, you should know what you like. You should know what your boundaries are. You should be able to enforce your boundaries properly. And if someone is like disrespecting your boundaries, leave. Like, there's no compromise. If they're not respecting your boundaries, no matter how many times you tell them, you gotta leave.
Don't give in to people just because you think that you should, or just to make them happy. Like,
Good advice.
just be
Really
in touch
good
with
advice.
yourself.
Listen to
and
Lauren here.
You'll know what orientation you are if you allow yourself to believe the truth about yourself.
I actually have a parting gift for you, the best interviewer shirt, which you could get at padildoshop.com, but I'm gonna give it to you for free.
Thank you.
Padildo? What? What? That was... Ooh, that's what his shop is called? Padildo Shop. Does he sell? The question is, does he sell actual dildos? Or just like... That was the funniest thing. It's not really loading though, so... Oof.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Did you make this yourself?
Obviously I made
can
it.
tell.
Anyways, yeah, I feel like the interview is basically over. So, we have two other ones. I want to know like more of the spectrum, but this one is just generally like explaining how asexuals feel, which is pretty enlightening. But let's go for the spectrum. Oh yeah, the site can't be reached. Oof. But here, 14 asexual spectrum identities and aromantic. So we're covering both spectrums. And I just want to react because it's like, how can there be a spectrum when the definition is that you don't feel anything? So let's see.
A lot of people are under the impression that your sexuality can't be influenced by the events that happen in your life, which is not true.
I mean, like, your experiences in life can definitely influence like what sexuality you are attracted to. Like, that's generally how it goes. If you don't feel it innately, then there's like factors that will influence it.
Hello lovely humans, welcome to this space on the internet. Today we're talking about asexual spectrum identities. The term asexual is an umbrella term describing anyone who experiences little to no sexual attraction. But
If you experience little sexual attraction, doesn't that mean you still feel sexual attraction? So you can't be asexual? We're just like, dude, if you feel attraction, then you're not asexual.
there are many different asexual identities other than simply asexual. And that's what we're going to be looking at today. Some specific different identities on the
It's like saying, you know why, like, because I could already anticipate the comments calling me acephobic or some stupid shit like that. It's like saying being gay is a spectrum. And then it's just like there are some gays who like women, and it's just like, wait a minute, if you say you're gay but you can like women, doesn't that make you bisexual? Like, do you understand my point here? It's just weird. Well,
asexual spectrum.
All right,
The
so
first identity is
graysexual.
graysexual or gray asexual. Gray asexuals experience some sexual attraction, though it may be rare or mild or inconsistent or otherwise irregular. This can also function as an umbrella term for anybody who's not completely asexual, as in experiences no sexual attraction ever, but does not identify as allosexual or as experiencing sexual attraction.
What? Huh? So if you experience it, something, it's just like, well, if you're graysexual, when do you experience sexual attraction? Do you experience like that sometimes feeling of sexual attraction towards guys, girls, both? So it's just like, as long as you experience it, as long as you experience sexual attraction, I don't think that you're ace.
My space ace friend Laurel is gray asexual, so look forward to more content from her to get the details on the experience of being a gray ace. The next asexual identity is something called demisexual. Demisexual people will experience sexual attraction, but only after a very close emotional bond is formed.
So like a relationship is formed. So they don't want to have sex on the first date. That's normal people. Demisexual is just being normal. If that is demisexual, then I guess we're all demisexual.
This means that they won't ever experience initial sexual attraction to somebody. It takes getting to know them first.
I feel like demisexuals are confusing physical attraction with sexual attraction. Like, I can look at a guy and be like, oh yeah, he's hot. But I'm not imagining myself going, right?
First. My other space ace friend, Kaden, identifies as demisexual, so look forward to content from them in order to get to know the demi experience. The next asexual spectrum identity is something called fraysexual. Fraysexual
What? This is the first time I'm hearing about that. Fraysexual.
people will experience sexual attraction upon meeting someone or first encountering them, but the attraction will fade after getting to know them or with time. You can kind of think of it as the opposite of demisexual.
Huh? So you just become uninterested over time. So it's like, again, I feel like that's just normal. It's just like, hey, you're hot. Oh wait, nah. Like you get to know them more, and then you experience all the icks. You know, like you get the icks with it. I don't think that means. Wait. I don't think that means like that. Well, that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense at all. Like, it's just, how is that a sexuality? You just get the ick. You just get the ick with someone. Like, huh? How is that? You know, I'm really confused. We need to get through
As in,
this.
they'll experience initial sexual attraction, but it will fade as an emotional bond forms. Whereas demisexual people will not experience initial sexual attraction and may once an emotional bond forms. The next identity is lithosexual.
Lithosexual? Is that like attracted to Lithuanium or Lithuania? What is the Lithuanian flag? Is that the Lithuanian flag? Lithuania flag. I mean, yeah, that's not the Lithuanian flag.
Lithosexual people will feel sexual attraction, but not necessarily want it reciprocated. Next,
Huh? What the? That was really lithosexual. Or someone fears me. A koi romantic, a koi sexual. So you just don't want to be sexual. How is that the sexuality? You just don't want it reciprocated. So it's like, oh yeah, I find you hot, but don't find me hot, guys. Don't find me hot. I mean, oh, okay. Now we're going on to autosexual, like. Like, do you want to frick Optimus Prime or something? It's like do 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 do. It's just like, what is autosexual? What is that?
identity on the list is autosexual. This involves feeling sexual attraction to yourself as opposed to other people. This may
So you love yourself. So you're just like a narcissist and just be like, you look in the mirror and it's like, oh man, I'm so hot. Let me use my fingers and go. Yeah, oh, okay. Okay. I mean, wouldn't that just make you gay? Wouldn't that just make you gay or lesbian if you're just in love with yourself?
translate to preferring masturbation to sexual activity with a partner. Next is reciprosexual. Reciprosexual people will only experience sexual attraction after ascertaining that someone experiences sexual attraction for them first. It may seem like their sexual attraction for someone activates once they
Okay, so it's like, once someone finds you hot, you'll find them hot? That just sounds like a preference. Like, that just sounds like a preference. I don't see how that's a sexuality.
have made sure that someone is sexually attracted to them. Next is cupiosexual, which is an identity that describes an asexual person who desires sexual relationships. Next is idomsexual.
Huh? Okay, so if you're like cupiosexual, you wanna experience it, but you can't? I feel that's just like a longing instead of a sexuality. That's just like something that you want. That's not really a sexuality. You're still ace. You are still ace. You're not cupiosexual. You're just an ace who just doesn't want to be ace. I don't think that's a sexuality. How is that a sexuality?
This one's an interesting one. Someone who is idomsexual does not distinguish sexual from platonic attraction and will establish relationships based on other factors that are not inherently related to their attraction. They will decide the nature of a relationship they have with someone based on factors that are not directly related to them feeling attracted to them. This is
What? Huh? I'm so confused. Idomsexual. Sexual and feel as platonic. So they can't so they're in denial? So they see, is this something like a platonic blowjob or something? Like, okay, yeah, let me frick, but we're still friends though. This is so confusing. I'm just getting even more confused.
This is an asexual identity because they do not internally feel sexual attraction. Next is aceflex. Aceflex is another umbrella term that describes the asexual spectrum, but in a different way than graysexuality does. Aceflex is an identity that shifts anywhere along the asexual spectrum, or fluctuates between asexual spectrum identities. For example, someone who's aceflex may not experience any sexual attraction for some periods of time, and then feel some, maybe inconsistent or mild sexual attraction other times.
Isn't that just, what was it called? Isn't that just graysexuality? You're just describing graysexuality. And again, this is just more of a preference thing than an actual sexuality. Like, I'm even more confused. I'm curious to read the comments.
Flux. Next identity is something known as ace spike. Someone who
This looks like a map marker in a bad, like in a really old retro game, in a bad retro game. Like you put it in like what was that like app where you can make games and such, like RPG Maker? It looks like an icon from RPG Maker.
who's a spike will usually experience no sexual attraction, but may sometimes have sudden, very intense spikes of sexual attraction. And these
So it's just like, so it just depends. Okay, so when do you feel that way? When do you suddenly have it? Like, do you just suddenly have it with like random people, or towards like a specific sex? Again, I feel like this is just like a preference and like something that just happens rather than a sexuality. Quasexual? What?
attraction. Next is quasexual, based on
Qua-sexual? This is actually lovely green when not on a green screen. Dude, just use like a red chroma key.
the French word quoi, meaning what. Basically, this identity describes a little bit
So it's what sexual? What is what sexual?
of uncertainty or confusion as to your identity on the asexual spectrum, or
So you're just confused. Confused is now a sexual identity. We used to call that questioning. You're questioning, you're not qua-sexual. You're just like, you're just not sure yet.
Or it can also describe someone who doesn't really understand sexual attraction or sex or sexual orientation as it relates to
So you're just confused. That's just being confused. That's just being confused, unsure. You're just questioning. That's not qua-sexual. You're just not sure yet.
themselves. They just don't really vibe with it, don't really know what's up with that, and don't necessarily see the importance in defining it. Next is fictosexual. This is another spectrum identity because there's a lot of different ways to be fictosexual. Fictosexuality involves feeling sexual attraction for exclusively fictional characters or having
What? How is that part of the asexual spectrum? If you're feeling attraction to fictional characters, is it just because there's no actual involved? Like, what? That just also sounds like a preference. What fictional characters are you getting off to? If it's a furry, I think you're into bestiality. If it's like male and you're a guy, you're gay. If you're a female attracted to female characters, you're probably a lesbian. If you're attracted to both, you're bi. How is this part of the asexual spectrum? It's just like a lot of these are just not. You're just describing preferences at this point, or you're just labeling stuff as asexuality when it's not a sexuality at all.
your sexuality somehow influenced by fictional characters. Next is arsexual. I may be pronouncing this one wrong.
Huh? I'm just like thinking of Taylor Swift's Eras tour. Like, are you sexually attracted to like watching Taylor Swift perform at the Eras tour? And it's just like, oh my gosh, she's gonna play Love Story, she's gonna play Ivy, she's gonna play Betty, she's gonna play Cardigan. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna. Anyways, that's not the actual reason, since this was made 3 years ago.
Wrong, but arsexual is a term that describes people who did once feel sexual attraction, but for whatever reason it has just kind of disappeared, doesn't exist anymore.
Isn't that free sexual? It's just like, you feel it and then all of a sudden you don't. That's just like something that happens. I don't think that's a sexuality. I don't think that counts as a sexuality. That's just like, I feel like it's more of a phenomenon that happens to you than it being like a sexuality, like gay, lesbian, bi, ace.
Or they no longer experience sexual attraction. And last but not least is cadsexual. Again, I might be...
What? It looks like a tire. It just looks like a tire. What is this? It's just like a tire. What?
Pronouncing this one wrong, but it's similar to arisexual or erasexual, whatever it is, in that it describes someone who did once feel sexual attraction and no longer does, although cadsexual is restricted to people who have had negative sexual experiences in the past or PTSD that contributes to their loss of attraction. This is an important...
I don't think that's a sexuality. I really don't think that's a sexuality. I think that's just like something horrible happening to someone, and as a result, they don't feel it anymore. I think what you're describing right now is just being traumatized.
Important one, because I think a lot of people are under the impression that if you're asexual, you were always asexual, or that your sexuality can't be influenced by the events that happen in your life, which is not true. And cadsexual people are proof. Those are some aspec identities, and we'll...
Okay, let me read the comments. Thank you for this information. Asexual is just easier. Sigh of relief. Is it okay to just not have a label? It's absolutely okay. So these we're mentioning victosexuality. Okay, so it's just... what is agosexual? Like, no one is just like calling out how these aren't sexualities, who feel a disconnect between themselves and the subject of arousal. Enjoying sexual content, being indifferent. Okay, so you just like to goon. Okay. Now, like, let's... Can I see if I sort this by newest? Okay, yeah, it's the same thing. It's just like, huh? How do you guys buy this? Alright. We'll get through every aromantic spectrum identity. Alright, let's see here. Let's hear it.
Aromantic, arrow. So your cousin was getting married, and after months of preparation and being a bridezilla, the D-Day has finally arrived. The happy couples are saying their vows, people are crying, love songs are playing, and everyone's feeling the romance. Except you. Instead, you're busy admiring the floral arrangements, checking out the buffet, and wondering why everyone else is crying their eyes out. This is basically how people who identify as aromantic feel when they see everybody else catching feelings. Being aromantic means you experience little to no romantic attraction towards others. To them, big romantic gestures seem as baffling as advanced calculus. And while other people talk about how they get butterflies in their stomach when they have
The romantic version of asexual. Alright, we don't need to know this. Okay, demi-romantic.
After all, demi-romantic. For the past 3 months, you've been steadily talking to this guy you met on Instagram. You guys share memes, laugh at jokes, and literally fall asleep talking to yourselves. But the thing is, there's been no conversation about a romantic relationship, just two people having great fun and conversation. However, you both decide to finally meet physically and know if the vibes are actually authentic. And the minute you see him, you're suddenly...
There's like someone outside my room. Wait. That was just my mom. Now back to reacting to this video. I feel like, is this just like eating? Is this just like a long distance relationship and then you just find out that you actually feel things? I'm confused.
Hit with a strange, fluttery feeling that you've never felt before. This sudden, intense attraction is happening because you are demi-romantic, and you typically don't experience romantic attractions until you've developed a close emotional bond with someone.
So it's just like you just develop a crush after getting to know the person. Again, that's just normal. I don't think I need to see this. Okay. Let's this is just normal. This is just how a lot of people are. Sometimes people will be giddy and like fall in love with someone, like seeing like them, or just like having crushes on them because of whatever. Like they just watch videos of them on like Instagram or Twitter, and that's how they form romantic feelings. But this one's just like, this one's just normal. This is just normal. This is just like being friends with someone and then developing a crush on them. It's normal. It's not a romantic orientation. Okay.
Lithromantic or a coiromantic. Picture being a spectator at a sports game, cheering on your favorite team from the stands, enjoying the thrill of the game, and feeling all the highs and lows without ever wanting to be on the field yourself. But here, instead of a football field, we're talking about relationships, and you are still the spectator enjoying the show from the stands. That's basically what lithromantic is about. So here's how it works. You'd actually experience a romantic attraction to someone, but you don't necessarily want it returned, nor do you need to act on it. For lithromantic,
That just doesn't make any. That just doesn't make any sense. It's just like you just don't want to be in a relationship. That's fine. That's fine. Again, not our. I feel like this is just preference, not a romantic thing. Who is coughing? Anyways.
coiromantic or WTF romantic. Imagine this. You're having a very interesting conversation with your friend in school about romance, and someone asks who your crush is. Now you're just sitting there wondering what the F a crush even means, because to you, romance feels as mystifying as a tax form written in hieroglyphics. This is what it means to be coiromantic, aka WTF romantic, where
That's just questioning. That's just questioning. You're just questioning. Next. Reciprocal-romantic. I feel like Frey, Platon, Idem, Var, Cade, Gray, Victo. I feel like this is just like the romantic versions of everything discussed here. So let's go for something that I did not recognize from the previous video. Platon romantic. Let's see.
history fades. Platoniromantic. Imagine you're watching a classic rom-com, but instead of falling head over heels into romantic love, you're just vibing with a deep friendship. In fact, that connection is exactly what you want, that deep best friend bond with someone, not a heart-throbbing romance. Being platoniromantic means you feel an intense, loving connection with others that feels almost like romance, but without any actual romantic attraction. For you, it's all about the platonic side, and those strong bonds can feel deeply satisfying.
So you just really, really want a friend. Okay. I struggle to see how that's related to like being romantically attracted to someone. Like, you just really, really want a friend. That's fine. That's fine. I don't think that's a romantic identity. Item we already talked. Var. What is var romantic?
Variomantic. So let's say you woke up one day and feel totally in love with someone. You're talking about him to all your friends, gushing about how he makes you smile, and convinced you've met your soulmate. In fact, you're so crazy in love that you're heading over to his house every single day to cook, clean, and take care of him. But then after a week of doing this, you suddenly wake up one morning and everything you felt for this person has just vanished. You really don't like him at all anymore. In fact, your attractions might have completely switched to someone else entirely. This is essentially what it means to be variomantic. Your romantic feelings are as fluid as water and can shift depending on the individual
I think this is just called being an asshole. like like I think this is just being a jerk. This is not like a romantic identity. It's just being a jerk to people. If you know that your romantic feelings are fleeting, why would you inflict that on a person? Like, don't be in a relationship if you identify as this. Come on, man. That's just a jerk move. What? What is going on? Okay, this looks interesting.
Romantic. So, 6 years ago, you almost walked down the aisle with the man of your dreams, your literal soulmate who understood and connected with you in a way nobody could. However, 2 days before the wedding, he got into a ghastly car accident and died on the spot. Ever since then, you've not dated anyone else, and the idea of even being in a relationship is scarier than jumping into an ocean full of sharks. Basically, this is what being Cade romantic is, and it is very complex. You see, people who identify as Cade romantic typically experience a form of romantic attraction, but there's a twist. They feel as though this attraction has been cut off or altered due to past trauma or significant emotional events. Imagine your romantic attraction is like a light switch. For many people, it's either on.
This is just trauma. You're just like traumatized from a bad experience. It's not a romantic identity. You're just traumatized. Okay. Like gray romantic, Victor romantic again. The only thing here that I can see being an actual romantic identity, similar to the asexual spectrum, is just the term aromantic, where you don't feel anything. Everything else is just preference, or like not even considered, like it shouldn't even be considered as a romantic identity since it's just something else entirely. Okay, so it's just all like, oh yeah, representation, blah 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 blah. Is anyone criticizing how? Okay, so here, so wait, platonic romantic isn't just having a best friend. I thought they were apathy. No, what is apathysexual, bro? What? I just feel even more confused again and again. Okay, so they're just sex repulsed. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, I'm gonna take a short break before we go on to the Pope segment. Simply because I feel like my brain is just confused at this point. Like I'm just really, really baffled by what I have just heard. It's just like how are these sexualities? Like I think I need to lie down. My head is just like spinning. I'm just so baffled at how like every little thing now is being classified as a sexual identity, and I feel like it just waters down. It just muddies the waters on the LGBT community. It's like, imagine that you're like a gay person who's being discriminated and just wants to love someone in peace, and then there's someone who's like, hey, I'm part of the community too, and it's just someone who's like switching between like who they like, or it's just like, oh hey, I'm part of the community too. I only experience sexual attraction after forming a bond with someone. Like that isn't every single person in the world. Like isn't that insulting in a way? I feel like that would be insulting. Like again, nothing wrong with being asexual or aromantic. It's just that when you say that it's a spectrum, it's not. I don't think it is. If you experience like even the tiniest hint of sexual attraction, you're not asexual. You're just maybe like the feeling just doesn't come as often, but you still experience it. Therefore, you are something else entirely, and it's not belonging to the ace or aromantic spectrum.